I have read and tried every diet I can even think of. There's no possibilities left to even explore, and each book has something in common. There seems to be a fight between like vegans and meat eaters, high fat versus high carb. There's a lot of different camps, and each book, if you're in this camp, you lie about the other camp. That's what I'm sick of. Just tell the truth. If you have an amazing diet, show us that you're healing people, and don't lie about the other camp. This documentary, Fat Fiction, I want to point out some of the obvious lies. Let's talk about it.
Let me fly towards my hands,
Now, just a quick little reminder, don't shoot the messenger here. I'm just here bringing you good news. The ultimate Christmas gift is now available for a buy one get one free sale. Buy two, get two free. It's just a magical pendant that increases your energy and focus and helps you sleep better at night. Who would want one of those? They've been in business 30 years. They're trustworthy. This is the third version of their thing, and they've perfected it. Copper, spun in a tensor ring-like fashion. What a gift. So YouTube is recommending this free documentary, Fat Fiction. It's all about how great fat and butter is and bacon. It's very obvious. I mean, YouTube's owned by a pharmaceutical company. It's like, oh, eat lots of this and we have the medicine for you when you're sick. We all win. We don't win, only you do. I must say it was hard to watch because I'm listening to people lie right to my face, and that hurts, but it's the same exact documentary that's been done over and over. I've seen like 10 different high-fat documentaries, and they all make the same lies over and over, like I'm watching the same movie. It's like, come up with something new, dicks. So let's start off with the charts, and we can see the suspicion rising in our blood. They compare their ketogenic diet, 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carb. That's a pretty balanced keto diet. That's kind of what I was doing. I was trying to not go too high on the protein, but they're comparing it to this high carb, 56% carbs, 25% fat, 19. What kind of diet is 45%? Don't quote me on that. Fat and protein. How is that a high carb diet? So this is the foundation of their lies. This is not a high carb diet. A high carb diet is 10% fat, 10% protein. It's mostly fruits and vegetables and starchy vegetables. Maybe a tiny bit of nuts and seeds, optional. Whereas this is like chicken breasts, low-fat yogurt, pancakes, mixed with almond milk, all kinds of weird concoctions, super high in fat. Like, you're not going to get the benefits of a carbohydrate-rich diet on that much fat and protein. You're not going to heal diabetes. Like, this is the foundation. They're lying to you. This is not a high-carb diet. So every little comparison they have is comparing to some bullshit standard American approach. So as you'll see in this whole documentary, they'll lie right to your face, and when we switch to the high carb diet, which is not even close to high carb, all these problems they had diabetes, they got more hungry, they flubberized their bellies. I saved 6 clips of nonsense. Let's play the first one.
So this is day 3 of the strict keto diet. I am literally down 3.5 pounds from when this started. I'm surprised by that.
You know who's not surprised? Me. If you know how the body works, when you go on a low-carb diet, immediately within 5 days, you lose a bunch of water weight. It's not rocket science. You have a bunch of carbohydrates in your muscles. It's roughly, I think, 3 grams water to 1 gram carbs in your muscles. So when you go on a low-carb diet, you lose all your muscle glycogen and your liver glycogen, and you therefore lose a bunch of that water that was holding onto the carbs, hugging each other. And now what? You're lighter. Oh, I'm losing so much weight. Oh, why is it stalling now after a week? Because you're no longer, it's not like just chunks of fat are melting off your body. It's sugar. You lost your sugar and water.
I still feel full, and that was after 3.5 hours. And usually at that time, after 2.5 hours, I'm hungry usually.
The reason you don't feel hungry is because you just poured a pool of butter into your sack. The hardest to digest and the slowest to digest foods are fat and protein. You eat a meal of fruit, it's done within half an hour. You might think you're hungry, you're not. Your stomach's empty. That's not hunger. True hunger is in the throat. You like, I'm hungry. That might not be how it works. So again, it's not rocket science. You eat a bunch of hard to digest food, it stays in your stomach a long time. And then you're like, wow, I'm still not hungry. That won't digest for 8-9 hours. It won't leave your stomach.
I had always a full feeling, so I'm wondering if I ate too much, maybe, I don't know.
Well, you'll feel a lot more full with fat and protein and less carbohydrate for sure.
She makes it sound like a good thing, but I'm telling you, it's just because it's hard to digest. It stays in your stomach longer and you feel full longer. If you ate anything super complicated like rice and beans with peanut butter, like very dense, you're gonna feel full longer. It's gonna take longer to leave your stomach versus like just some watermelon. Boom, gone. Oh, I'm hungry. You're not.
Atherosclerosis is an inflammatory disease. It's not a buildup of fat in the artery. It's actually inflammation that's causing the problem.
And the cholesterol then will go to that damage to try to repair it. But it didn't cause the damage. The damage has to come first.
And what do you think is causing this damage? Every time you put someone on a carnivore keto diet, their cholesterol goes up. Why is that? Some say it's because you're taking in all this cholesterol. In my opinion, it's just because so much protein and fat is inflammatory. It's going through your circulation, just like this. And it's the cholesterol that's trying to repair the damage from this toxic tissue, the nitrogenous waste products from too much protein. You got it floating all throughout your body. Your creatinine levels rise, your kidneys are stressed. All this poison, the uric acid, ammonia, all this is floating through your system constantly, and your body's using that cholesterol from the meat to plaque it, to repair it. That's why it goes up. When you put someone on a low-fat vegan diet, it goes down. You can see the arteries thinning out. Like, all this stuff goes away. The inflammation is coming down.
It's like saying that firefighters caused the fire when they just turned up to put the fire out.
Meat brings the fire and the firefighters. They're both there at the scene of the crime. One didn't start without the other. They caused the problem and they're trying to fix it at the same time. It's a bunch of gangsters trying to fix your house. It's like, okay, we'll knock a hole in that wall and then I'll repair it. See? It's worse than the wall was before. Go low-fat vegan. Wall.
And the number one inflammatory substance in the American diet is sugar. That's it. I mean, you put those two things together. Inflammation makes everything worse, and sugar is the number one inflammatory substance that we consume. End of argument.
No, it's not. Argument's alive and well. You're just lying to us. I had my blood tested on a carnivore diet. My C-reactive protein was super high. It was like 7. That's what measures inflammation. I don't even know how accurate it was, but when I went on the medical medium approach, which was like low fat, mostly vegan, I think fish once, maybe twice a week, my C-reactive protein dropped down to like 1. Fantastic. Like sugar, refined sugar, okay, maybe, but Walter Kempner with his rice diet was healing people of all kinds of inflammatory issues with refined sugar in there. In my opinion, I don't like sugar. It's refined, it has no nutrients, it robs your body of nutrients. Don't ever consume it. But it's in the context of a high-fat diet. Refined sugar with like burgers and shakes and donuts for dessert, yeah, that sugar is gonna hurt you. It's gonna stay in your bloodstream and ferment, whereas like fruit sugar leaves the digestive tract quick. It doesn't stay around and like, hey, let's damage the walls here. This is the main problem I have with keto promoters. They just demonize all sugar, saying, okay, sugar's bad, so is fruit, so is starch. Potatoes, worst. Look, there's sugar in there. It's like there's so much more beneficial stuff in a fruit or a potato. All inflammatory diseases get better on these high carb foods, high sugar foods. So sugar doesn't cause inflammation. I had inflammatory bowel disease. The only way I got over it was a high carb diet. Tons of fruit, tons of sugar. Sugar doesn't cause inflammation. Donuts? Yeah. Pop-Tarts? Sure.
But government consumption data confirms Americans did as they were told and dutifully cut back on natural fats found in red meat, whole milk, eggs, animal fats, and butter. But we still gain weight.
What we know for sure is the guidelines are bullshit. Anybody following the guidelines, like you're eating Snackwell's super low fat, like the whole low fat craze, didn't go to high carb vegan. It went to this weird processed food area where it's just tons of wheat flour, refined flours and sugars. Like it's not real food, it's cookies and cakes, and like everything was low fat animal products, egg whites, tons of chicken breast, pancakes with chicken breast, yummy. It's like it's still super high protein. There's still fat in the chicken breast, so it's still like These aren't dietary guidelines to follow. It's the government trying to sell you food and kill you. I hear it over and over again whenever somebody explains a low-fat diet that they tried, and it's like all these low-fat animal products that are super high in protein and still pretty high in fat. And then tons of like refined grains. It's not the diet that heals you. Fruit, starches, back off those beans and seeds and nuts.
And insulin resistance is essentially a state of carbohydrate intolerance. So why do we want to continue to recommend to people to eat them?
Because every cell in your body prefers sugar over fat. Whenever you eat fat and sugar together, it burns the sugar first and then stores the fat. If you're afraid of the dark and you now sleep with a nightlight to avoid the dark, you didn't heal your darkness fear. If you're afraid of water, you don't like swimming in lakes, and then you move to the desert where there's no water in sight, you're still afraid of the lake monsters. You know you are. So, like eating carbs, how about strengthening your insulin resistance? Can you strengthen it? Get rid of your resistance. Go on a high carb diet, get rid of the fat, and then you can absorb the sugar better. Your insulin doesn't have to overproduce to get it driving it in there through the fat sludge. It's like that's how you heal diabetes, high carb diet. Walter Kempner did it with rice and refined sugar. Like just get rid of the fat, your blood sugar issues go away. I don't get tired after fruit meals anymore. I used to. If I eat too much fat, I probably will have those spikes. If I have 2 avocados at night, I don't even want to know what happens the next day with my fruit meal. These people are insane though. They just tell you to avoid all the healthiest foods, fruits and vegetables and potatoes, so you don't have these blood sugar spikes and your blood sugar now reads even. They just pay attention to the numbers. It's like, oh, look at this. My blood sugar hasn't risen at all because you just drank butter. Why would it rise? Try eating like high carb fruits for a couple of days. Nothing but, and then see what happens after your keto diet. I bet you'll have spikes all over the yin yang. It was at that point I couldn't watch anymore. I was like, I can't take this. I can't take it. I know they're going to compare the before and afters of that standard American freak diet that they compared the keto one to, saying, oh, look, they lost more weight.
Next week, we'll flip from low carb to low fat.
This one was bad. High carb is bad. It wasn't high carb. It never was. So stop lying to us, please. Can we all just get along? Human beings just working together, we could figure this shit out in like a couple weeks. If everybody was just like on the same page. But we're not. We're not. By design. By the freaks. Underground. You know where they are. I'm gonna leave. What do you think? I'm not even against the keto diet. I'm against lies. Like, go do your keto diet. If you got your life back, okay, I know the feeling. I did it for years. It's like, yeah, it has some benefits. I'm triggered by it. I think long term it damages the organs, so I can't recommend it wholeheartedly. Whereas the vegan diet, like, it might be a bit of a struggle to get your health back for a bit with the detox and all that shit. But eventually you get there and you have superior health and your mind is clear from the animal cruelty. Like, none of us want to participate in that. They don't even mention it in the documentary. It's like, we're just glancing over that. It's like, you do know that the whole world to eat that kind of diet, like hell on earth, you have to have a bunch of factories now, farmed factory meat everywhere, all over the earth. Like, that's what we want instead of fruit trees and potato farms? Come on now. I'm gonna leave. How you doing? Thumbing up the video. Thank you so much, it helps. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Some of you have thumbed it down by accident, I think, but I think it's possible that the reason you accidentally clicked the down button was because your diabetic keto spikes have altered your vision. You see two now. That's because your rabies is acting up. Keto diet causes rabies. I'm gonna go after you buy a Vegetable Police t-shirt. I can't believe you subscribed. That makes me feel so good.